like at least 5 whole seconds. So I wanted to talk about my favorite, and this disclaimer, this is not medical advice, and I am doing this for entertainment purposes only. And you do any research yourself, as you should, and you should ask your doctor before you take any herb, which if you have the experience I've had over and over again, they will do nothing. They will probably barely even glance at the list of herbs or medicinal herbal supplements you bring to them to make sure that everything's okay. I've never had a doctor take any of this seriously. And that's part of why when you look this up, for most of these things, it'll be like this has been used for thousands of years to treat this and that and the following. However, it's never been proven because, we can study everything about like flatulence, but we can't study these herbs that have been, and in my opinion, it is done on purpose for entertainment purposes only allegedly. It's like the pharmaceutical companies don't want these herbs that you can easily grow in your garden because what I'm talking about right now, these 10, so some of the reason they are my favorite is because they've been super easy to grow, even as a beginning gardener. And I'm going to start with lemon balm. It is one of my all-time favorite plants. I love lemon balm tea. If I'm ever outside and I get an insect bite or any kind of irritation, I go to my lemon balm plant and crush up a leaf and rub it on it. It always takes care of it. Lemon balm is absolutely amazing. And in addition to just being calming, it has like most of these, have like a lot of the same benefits. Calming, antioxidants are found in all of these. And I think lemon balm is a lot of herbalists' favorite because it's kind of like, I don't want to call anything a cure-all because once again, this is not medical advice, but it is useful for so many things. And it's like beneficial for all ages, in my opinion. And the second favorite is chamomile. This is German. I believe the other kind is Roman. I've never grown that. But chamomile is also known for being very calming, just as lemon balm. And it's known for helping with digestive issues. And I heard in Mexico they bathe or even give their newborns, like when they're just a few days old or a day old, they give them chamomile tea. Hi, Vlad. How are you doing today? This is in no particular order, just so everybody knows, but I find all 10 of these plants to be extremely useful. I just can't stress enough. This is not medical advice for anybody, especially if you're taking any pharmaceuticals and prescription medication. You need to check with your doctor or medical provider. I'm sorry, Vlad. I'm doing pretty well today. You don't have to say anything you don't want to say, but I hope tomorrow gets better and whatever's going on now, it will pass. I know that that doesn't help often in the moment, but the hardest times in my life, it is true. This too shall pass. Just keep telling yourself that. So, third on this list is marshmallow. This is a marshmallow plant. And actual marshmallows used to be made from the roots of this plant. However, they don't make them like that anymore. They use gelatin for the most part. But oh, I'm sorry, Vlad. That's really sad, and I know that hurts, and I know there's nothing I can do to really, like, take away the hurt, but one day somebody will make all the pain worth it. One day you'll meet somebody and you'll be like, "I went through, those heartbreaks to find this person," and, just see that as a light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I tell my sons. I know it hurts. I'm so sorry. Hi, Azita. How are you? So marshmallow contains in the leaves, a component, what am I saying? It contains something called mucilage, and basically it makes your mucous membranes secrete like good, soothing, anti-inflammatory mucus. It might sound counterproductive, like if I have a cold, I'm already creating mucus, why would I want to create more? But this is going to help soothe your mucous membranes, basically, like and you can still use to make marshmallows. I have never tried that before, but it has really super soft leaves, which I think would also be a good alternative to toilet paper if you're in a pinch. If it's a kind of situation that we had a few years ago where there's no toilet paper available. I even looked up before, I even looked up if that's like okay, and then it seemed to be okay. Also, the chia seed plant, they have big, kind of very similar, like almost velvet leaves that are very substantial that would probably be good for that. Oh, thank you, TBL. I hope you like at least I know a lot of my content can be all over the place. I just hope anybody that subscribes like can take what they like and leave the rest because I know I should probably have like 2 or 3 YouTube channels honestly with my varying interests, but extra am I you're saying who's lying? Vlad? Well, the way I look at it, even if somebody was to be lying about something like that, there is a chance that somebody else in the world is going through something similar. So it's not really, all to be lost in the wash. So, fourth, right? We're on number four. This is Sweet Annie Wormwood, and it is used mostly for parasite cleanses. Once again, this is not medical advice. And if you look it up, they'll say, like, this has been used for parasite cleanses for thousands of years, but we don't know if it works because you don't want to know if it works. So, this is actually a great plant to grow to make wreaths. It grows super quickly, it repels all the bed bugs, I think it's beautiful, and it's really easy to make home decor from. You can't lose. Some people don't like the smell. It is sweet, but it's like a pungent kind of sweet. You'll know once you smell it what I'm talking about. It isn't everybody's cup of tea, that's for sure. Unfortunately, I just have saved seeds. I don't have pictures for all these, but paracress is also known as the toothache plant because it numbs your mouth. If you chew on it, it will numb your entire mouth eventually. So it's really good to use when you're in pain. Obviously, anybody that's ever had a toothache would understand why it's always good to have something on hand to deal with that. And feverfew. Are we on number 6 or 7 now? One, two, three, four, five, six. Feverfew, it's in the name. First of all, fever reduction, allegedly, not medical advice. And it's also known to help headaches, even chronic migraine sufferers. And they recommend to like take a little bit at a time and work your way up if you're taking a daily dose for migraines. Well, S, I saw that some people were selling those as craft. I can't remember the website honestly, but they were selling them as craft supplies because you can buy the dried poppy heads and I myself have found the variety you're talking about on plenty of websites. Is what good to chew? I'm sorry, you're talking about feverfew? Um, you probably could, just chew on like any of this stuff that I'm talking about. Um, Thyme, this is a very common herb. It's like an astringent. It's so great for so many things. It's like antiviral, antifungal. People take for granted the powers and just the power of antioxidants. Like if you add a teaspoon of dried oregano to a cup of pasta sauce, you've increased the antioxidants like 200 times or something. We all need more of that. Those help your body so much. And all these herbs have that. But thyme is a great thing to have on hand to make tea out of when you're feeling any kind of affliction. Same thing with mint, peppermint, whatever kind of mint you like. It is known to help with headaches, cramps, arthritis, and I think this is the last one. I have more to talk about too, so I just wanted to get through like the top 10 in like 10 minutes. Hyssop. Am I saying that right? Hyssop. I have two kinds. It's a pretty plant. It's a little weedy looking, but I think it's pretty. And it's, excuse me, it's an expectorant and an antiseptic. It is biblical, I was told, and I really like making tea out of it. My favorite tea is hyssop marshmallow lemon balm, and it always makes me feel like really good, stimulated, not in a caffeinated way, in like I feel good and have a true burst of energy kind of way. And all of these plants are easy to grow. I would say mint mint grows like a weed. Mint grows so easily, you need to probably grow it in a container if you wanna contain it. Lemon balm spreads, but it's not nearly as much as mint, and I would say marshmallows, if you let the seeds drop, they can also spread, and, the nature of the roots can be a little difficult to remove, so you just need to be aware of that, but these are all annuals besides mint as a perennial. Thyme can be a perennial depending on where you are, and I guess this hyssop says perennial in zones. It doesn't say the zone, that's funny. So I found that when I became my own healer, I'm not giving medical advice though, everybody should talk to their doctor. I just feel like I can't say that. I've had a lot of videos taken down, especially around, the panini time. I had my only copyright strike on this channel, and it's since fallen off, but, I couldn't even talk about anything at all. And I feel like they've loosened things up a little bit, but I just wanted to say, people will think I'm trauma dumping. Like this is a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about chronic health issues, and if that bothers you, then don't watch it. But I've had a lot of health issues since I was a child, really. But I got my first official diagnosis at age 16, which was polycystic ovarian syndrome, which most doctors brush off because I am not morbidly obese and I do still have my periods and I have had children. So to most doctors, that means my PCOS doesn't affect me, even though I still feel like it does affect me greatly. On top of that, I've had thyroid issues, thyroid nodules that I shrunk using an iodine protocol, Lugol's iodine. It's once again not giving medical advice. Some people would say not to ingest this particular, I believe it's potassium iodide, because I had tried the iodine that they prescribed me and it didn't give me the same effects. So I know what it's like to try things and have them work and go to the doctor and say, "Hey, this worked." And they don't. There's nothing much I can do until it's in a peer-reviewed medical study. There just isn't. And if I can grow most of what I need at home, everything pain reducers, one of my favorite pain reducers, willow bark, white willow bark, which I can't grow here, but it is easy to buy. I will say when I bought it, there was a lot of like shards of plastic and stuff in it, and I didn't like that. I could only find one source, and it's a good example of why it is so great to be able to buy, or I'm sorry, grow your own healing herbs and plants at home. They're clean, they haven't been adulterated. That the hands that process them were clean, hopefully, if you wash your own hands. And it is so much better and easier. There's nothing like going out to the garden and picking fresh leaves and making fresh tea out of it. And if you add purple basil, you can make purple tea. It's really neat. And these are the kind of things that I feel like are priceless and make the investment into gardening worth it. Especially if, it's the first year, I understand it can be a lot, and I understand not everybody has, like, several hundred or even a few $100, but if it's a passion of yours and you're contemplating it, you can I don't recommend dollar store containers because the plastic is so cheap. I've had so much plastic dollar store flimsy things snap on me within a year of buying them, especially if they're gonna be in the elements now in the sun. However, if that's, like, all you can afford, they do have some pretty decent big pots. Also, stores that are, like, discount stores, there's a store called Ollie's around here. They will have really big containers, like, under $10. You can't get any cheaper than that, and you can start but, like I always say, gardening in containers is actually more difficult than gardening in the ground. So if you're starting in containers, don't get discouraged if it's hard because it is hard. It's much harder than growing. Plants are used to growing in the ground. They can, once they establish their root system, especially, it's like so much easier to keep them alive than when you're dealing with containers, especially in the 90s. And I just want desire to grow to know that it's possible and there's an infinite amount of things to grow and uses for them. As I mentioned with the wormwood, there's quite a few things that I've used for decoration. I grow straw flowers the last few years, and those aren't true flowers. They look like flowers, but they actually are dried like as they grow. They're called brackets or something. They're not actual petals, but they're called straw flowers because they're like straw and they're really easy to use in crafts, and it is environmentally friendly, of course. I grew Indian corn one year, and I might use that for seeds this year. It's already like 5 years old because it doesn't look as good as it used to, and I'll do a germination test to see how viable the seeds are. But it feels really good to be able to provide real good nutrition, to be able to heal, to help, not giving medical advice, but to sincerely help people when they are having acute symptoms and know that it was something that we grew and we know exactly where it came from. One problem I have with children's medicines, it's so hard to find children's medicines that don't have like the fake sugar. Like everything has a fake sugar. Trying to find protein shakes, protein mix for my son who's an athlete, it's like impossible There's absolutely nothing in stores that doesn't have fake sugar. Not just fake sugar, but like 2 forms of fake sugar. It's maddening. And the kids, why do we need to put dye in kids' medicine? They're already unwell. Why do we need to add dye, synthetic dye to their systems? It's just not good. No, Skipper, I don't have a cornfield. I have 1 acre. And I'd like to have a plot. I usually like to grow at least one kind of corn, but you have to grow them at least 500 feet apart because of the cross germination. So we are going to also grow. I have so many. All of these things I have grown before, unless I tell you I haven't grown it before. White sage is kind of controversial. I do believe in smudging. I do believe that it cleanses the air. As far as the spiritual aspect to it, I don't know for sure. I'm not God, but I know that when something smells funky and I smudge it, it smells better. And white sage, some people, especially Native Americans, don't believe in growing it. They especially don't believe in like processing it for sale because they look at it as something sacred. So, I probably would never sell it myself personally just to respect that, but I added sand to my soil one year and grew it very easily. I found you find out a plant like sand or rocks, just add a little bit of that to the area where it's going to grow. It works. And I did that with lavender, with rocks. And lemon balm is in here twice because I love it so much. So another herb, like people don't really realize how useful it is medicinally, is dill. And once again, I just have saved seeds. I don't have a real packet with a picture. But let me see. I wrote dill. I'm sorry. Dill was actually supposed to be in my top 10. Did I speak about this already? In my notes, it was in the top 10. Well, okay. Dill is good for fevers, pain, menstrual pain. It can be used, made into a tea. I have this absinthe wormwood. No, I've never made absinthe. I'm not saying I'm against it, but no, I've never used it to make it. It's just it's just really pretty. And I believe it does have, I should know this, I'm sorry. That's the one fact I'm saying not sure about if it has the same anti-parasitic properties as a sweet Annie wormwood. Valerian, good for sleep, balancing hormones. It's recommended to grow it in a container. Cats are very attracted to this plant for whatever reason. One way you can keep cats out of containers, it's unfortunate, but I've had to stick plastic forks upside down so the prongs of the fork are facing up in a way that they're going to be uncomfortable walking around in it. St. John's wort, we think we all know this is like for balancing mood. I have not successfully grown this enough to use. I think I got like one bloom one time. I haven't tried that hard. And this is also something I was gifted by a seed company in an order, and I'm going to try it. It says it's like a panacea, the king of all bitter herbs. This has been hailed as a panacea in Eastern medicine for centuries. And I think that we are so used to sweet, salty, savory that I'm trying to incorporate more bitter taste into my diet. I do always loved lemons and certain kind of bitter citrus and whatnot, but I don't have enough bitter herbs. And I think it is important to balance everything out. Same thing with colors. Like I like to eat all the colors of the rainbow as much as possible. It makes me so happy to have like a plate that has natural colors in it. So this was something that's been brought up a lot lately that I wanted to talk about. We're talking about healing, supposedly not like giving any medical advice, herbs. There's something that Titus said recently about vitamin D that you can wash it off. That he learned this in medical missionary school, and it's a good example of why why you should have a legit medical professional in your life, and you shouldn't just like I like Pinball Prepper. Any of you watch him? He's this guy from Tennessee, nice older man. He does a good job like keeping us updated on recent news. Kind of political prepper in the name. Need I say more? He was talking about, I forget what he was talking about in his video, but somebody made the comment that, like, we all need to stay out of hospitals, never go to hospitals, and there were several people that were saying things like, "I'm 81, I haven't been to a hospital since I enlisted in the military," which, I mean, I think cool story, but I don't think we should be encouraging anybody to not go to the doctor. Like, I get all the reasons why somebody would do that, but at the same time, as somebody who's going in for my 4th biopsy in 10 years in less than a week, I don't think anybody should be encouraging anybody to not go to the doctor, especially women for their gynecological exams. That's every 3 years. If you have a history like mine, it's every year or even every 6 months. Nobody should be encouraging anybody to stay away because it could possibly be missing a cancer diagnosis, especially with everything going on right now after 911. Because of stress, supposedly cancer rates skyrocketed. And I know I sound like real Debbie Downer right now, but it's not that I sit around worrying about things happening. This is encouragement and motivation for me to maybe grow even more medicinal herbs. We all need to protect ourselves and our immune system, boost our immune system now more than ever. We were all under a tremendous amount of stress starting half a decade ago, and it really has just been like this up and down, because that's what they want to induce mass psychosis, basically, in my opinion. And this is why it's important to take your health into your own hands. But part of that means being able to have a professional on your side. Like, I found nurse practitioners, they seem to be there seems to be more of them, and they will be the head of certain clinics and practices, and they're always great. They seem to listen better, in my opinion. Maybe it has something to do with not having the official MD title. I just favor nurse practitioners myself. Of course, like, I'm facing maybe, needing surgery soon. So I have a doctor I really like, and that means the world to me because I know what it's like to not have a doctor that you like, and that's not a good feeling. And a lot of my issues too are from inguinal hernias. So I talk about a lot of woman issues, but I actually have a kind of hernia. I have two on both sides that affects mostly men. Like 80% of people who have inguinal hernias are men. So when I talk about pelvic pain and issues, like I I feel for men that have this issue, like they go through things too that are, chronic pain inducing, especially with our gut. It seems like every other person I meet nowadays has stomach pain, has issues with their gut. And the marshmallow plant is also another great thing. Throat coat tea is sold at Walmart. It's kind of expensive. It's like $5 a box, but it's worth it. If I'm having I go through periods where it hurts every time I eat something, and that's when I know I need to take a step back and, like, take my floor store and eat better and cut out all the bad stuff. And in addition to that, I'll drink some throat coat tea if I don't have, my marshmallow plants growing outside. I will drink that to engage that mucilage, and it always, always helps. One thing I used to use a lot for stomach issues was Alka-Seltzer Gold, but they discontinued that, of course, because it worked. It was Alka-Seltzer without the aspirin in it. It had like baking soda and citric acid, which I know I could probably like throat coat, like jacket or coat. It is made by Traditional Medicinals. I have some of it. Do you want me to go get my box of it? I'll show it to you if you want me to. It's in Walmart, it's in Kroger's, it's, like, everywhere they sell tea, and, it has other herbs in it too, but throat coat tea is our go-to in the wintertime, and usually I do have dried herbs. It's just with all the moving we've done the past few years. I have some stevia. I do grow the stevia plant. And stevia, when you grow it, it actually tastes a lot better than the processed stevia with that weird, bitter, almost aftertaste. And I like to add a few leaves of that to tea, especially if I'm going to be making something astringent like thyme or dill. Yes, throat coat, throat goat. I know, I feel like I sound funny and I talk funny because I've had sinus issues. I have a deviated septum. I'm always half congested, so I'm laughing at myself as much as I'm laughing at you, John. Also, I did get some flower seeds out because I figured if I'm still like, on here, I might as well talk as much as I can. I do have a big week coming up. As I mentioned already, I have a medical test and I I want to start documenting all of this gardening. Like, this is gonna be the part 1 to my medicinal garden this year, and then, the next part will probably be me starting the seeds, and then it'll probably be a while until you actually see the plants, of course. But I have this beautiful enclosed garden bed that my husband built, and it goes up 6 feet high. It has like fencing to keep animals out. And I'm thinking about making that just nothing but herbs and root vegetables because I want my brassicas to be all covered. And I have herbs growing around it. I have so many herbs that I want to grow. And I wanted to show you because it is nice to grow your own home decor. And with everything going on right now, can't we all save some money? So if you can grow something that's beautiful and adds curb appeal to the outside of your home, and then take it inside and like keep that going at least for even if it's a few days, but a lot of this stuff is like more like a few months or even years. Okay. When I talked about straw flowers earlier, I wanted to show you a packet, but I don't think I have a packet. Celosia, it's something that is easy. Seeds will fall out of it if you dry it. If you pick it too late, a lot of little tiny black seeds might fall out of it, but it's not like they're gonna stain anything or anything. But this is a great multi-purpose decorative flower. When it's young, you can eat the green leaves like you would spinach. It's actually used as salad greens in Africa, I believe. But by the time it flowers, I guess they're either too bitter or tough or both to be doing that with. And this is super easy to grow. I love growing this stuff. Highly recommend it. Now, this has been a tad more difficult for me to grow. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. I forgot that I got this. Oh my gosh, that's exciting. Okay. See, a lot of these I bought on sale like at the end of the season, and then I have this. It it's pink flamingo. Botanical Interest is probably my all-time favorite seed company. They can be a tad bit pricey, but in my opinion, they're worth it. They're top-notch quality. The few mistakes that they've made and the like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of seed packets I've ordered from them, they make it right. Like if there's a more expensive variety where there's like 12 seeds or there's supposed to be 12 seeds in the packet, and then I open it and there's only 10 and I tell them, they always make it right and send me more. So this is Globe Amaranth that's easy to dry. And I'm sure, like, it's edible, it's amaranth, but really super easy to dry and, just these cute little pom-poms that retain their color pretty well, and that's really cute. Scabiosa, you see this right here, the big round thing? That's a seed pod, and right off of the plant, it's dry and papery. I don't know how well you can see the detail. It almost looks like tiny little stars. Even when you peel off these little individual things, those can be cute to use for crafts as well. And amaranth, amaranth can be used in dried arrangements, although it can, once again, if you don't pick it at the right time, it's going to shed a bunch of seeds. And, you know, I feel ashamed for not including maybe the medicinal plants. Maybe I should make a video with topical medicinal plants, but it would be mostly calendula because it's my absolute favorite flower to grow in the garden because it's just I've never seen a calendula leaf bug bit by a bug. It's like bug resistant. It has a lot of oils and it's really good to make balms for your skin. It's healing. It's really good for eczema. It's really good for irritation. As I said earlier with, actual bug bites, I go and grab the lemon balm, but the second thing I would grab if I didn't have lemon balm would be chamomile, and it's also, like, super easy to grow. I hope this isn't too all over the place. Maybe if you find yourself still listening to this, it's because you're like me and you put on people to listen to while you're doing chores or working or driving, and I feel like I should have some more medicinal flowers than this. Yarrow Yarrow is known to help stop bleeding. It's been used, it's in if you ever see a garden that's There's a garden I saw in Danville that was like a medicinal garden, like what the settlers would have, because Danville, Kentucky was where a lot of early political big deal things happened in Kentucky. It was near like the first city in Kentucky. It's not the first, but this is a pretty blend of colors, but you know, white yarrow is the most common. So it's great because it's good in dried arrangements or fresh arrangements, and it's medicinal. Like once again, you just can't go wrong with growing certain things at all. Somebody mentioned poppies earlier, and I have never personally grown poppies for medicinal use, but I have seen if you look up the scientific name, it's not hard to buy. I'm just assuming that they are selling ones that don't have a high content of the opium. I don't know for sure, but I would really recommend white willow bark for anybody that has chronic pain issues and wants something safe to take. That's I've never heard of anybody becoming addicted to white willow bark. You grew the medicinal poppies once, John? Did it work out for you? If that's what you were growing them for. They are beautiful. I remember I, like, accidentally or it came in a mixture, like, I didn't think I wanted to grow poppies because I was so into cut flowers, and they're not great cut flowers because they don't last that long, and now I'm all about once you grow them, they have the thinnest petals of any flower. Their petals are literally like 3 cells thick or something like that, and that's why they look so amazing and brilliant because the sun is reflecting off of these. It's just there's nothing as beautiful as a big poppy fluttering in the wind, right? I think I have more, but I have many more seeds than what I got out. It's kind of discombobulating going through all my seeds. And the poppy latex was a good painkiller straight from the plant. Oh, the latex. Okay, I do know what you're talking about with that. I remember that is what they use. There was it was actually that seed company Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, they have a YouTube channel and they made a great documentary on poppies. It's so great going into like I don't know if I can say the word, it's so silly, opium trade, and how, for centuries now there's been countries that were like, well, I'm gonna, bring this over here to China and get a bunch of people addicted to it. And then, we're gonna bring it up. So it's interesting, and in my opinion, most everything we need is available and ready, easily available to grow. And I really feel like gardening helped bring a new aspect of life to me that made my life better. And okay, I think these are straw. Yeah, these are straw flower seeds. I know that's not really going to help anybody, but I love these things so much. I can't If you pick them too late, they don't look as good. You have to know when to pick them or else they shrivel up in this weird kind of way. But yeah, I hope that somebody is helped by my list of 10 plants. Okay, here, I found one. Now I'm getting seeds everywhere. Do you hear that? I don't know if you can hear that in my earbud. This is like a straw flower I saved for seeds. See, it's like literal paper. It's like pretty, it's not indestructible, of course, but it's pretty durable. And they come in a lot of different colors. See, this one I picked it a little too late. It's almost like puckered. It's not perfectly round. You have to pick them when they're not all the way opened up yet, or else they'll do that. If you wait till they're all the way opened up, they're not gonna be as pretty. And it is part of what makes me a happy little factory worker, knowing I can grow whatever I want. I have an acre and I can make it more beautiful and improve it for my entire community. It's not just about yourself. When we moved out of our first house, people came out of the woodworks. Sorry, there's seeds floating around telling me how they were going to miss our garden and how much they appreciated and loved my garden and how they always saw how hard I worked. And it was so sweet and great. And it made me feel like really good because it is something that everybody that sees like a pretty flower bed, oh, that's great. And like, think about the good energy that you are putting out there and helping people engage in when you grow something beautiful for them to look at. It's the beauty of nature is one of the few things that's like truly universal, just like music. And I believe God put these things here for us to be able to more easily get through this crazy life. And I guess that is I feel so bad that I forgot about that dill. I had written down marshmallow, lemon balm, chamomile, thyme, dill, paracress, or the toothache plant, mint, feverfew, hyssop, wormwood. Those were the top 10. My favorite medicinal plants, and I'd say lemon balm, marshmallow, gosh, it's so hard to pick. Thyme is also really good for stomach issues, I have found. Like you might, I think that's because it's like antibacterial, antifungal. Thyme oil, I believe I've mentioned this, and I know I repeat myself a lot like an older person. No offense to older people, but thyme oil is so great to use for mold mitigation. There is a thyme oil that's only botanical cleaner approved by the EPA to clean mold. It's called Benefect, and the main ingredient, the active ingredient in it is thyme oil. It stinks. It doesn't smell that great. Thyme essential oil, and like you need to be really careful when you handle it. But if you are having mold issues, I highly recommend thinking about that, like reoccurring, especially and it's so amazing. Like, I know, like, I've used antibiotics and have benefited from antibiotics, and I'm grateful for modern medicine. All the advancements we've made are absolutely amazing. But I can honestly say my kids have had antibiotics like two times in 10 years between three kids, and I'm not exaggerating. My kids have barely had antibiotics. And pink eye is something that we go through, like, every other year. It seems like when they were younger, it happened, like, once a year. Besides the antibiotics for that, one of my kids has never had antibiotics at all. And that's not, like, a brag, and some people everybody's different, but in a time where there's an over-prescription, overusage of these things and superbugs and possibly being formed, it's best for us to all go back to what's literally easier and more natural and more beneficial, and in addition to mitigating symptoms, you're also adding in beneficial vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. You just can't go wrong. And in these top 10, there's definitely, I'm sure there's people out there that are allergic to mint, allergic to paracress. Like, always do your due diligence. Try things one at a time. Ask your doctor. Like I said at the beginning, I've never had a doctor take any of the herbs I take seriously, but this is not medical advice, and I hope that something helps somebody. The paracress plant is also just really fun to grow. Things like that might be neat to try with kids because it's amazing. You just barely start to chew on it and it sincerely numbs with an Orajel. It really is amazing. It kind of took me aback, and I think that a lot of kids would probably have fun growing that. And it's not a really pretty flower, but some of them are red with a yellow dot in the middle. Or am I thinking yellow or yellow with a red dot in the middle? And I think it's a really cute plant that almost grows like a ground cover. So it's really helpful to, that's one thing I should mention. Most of these grow pretty tall except for paracress and mint. Those are in the front. If you're growing a medicinal garden, I would definitely keep those towards the front. Everything else gets like 2, 3 plus feet tall. Lemon balm, no, but it can get several inches tall. And okay, the balm and the thyme, I would put that behind the mint and the paracress. They're like the medium-sized plants. Marshmallow gets very tall, like the dill, very tall. Feverfew, hyssop, wormwood, definitely a fast grower. Wormwood will overshade, overgrow, and crowd out things if you don't give it enough space. And it kind of grows like it will be like a bush more than a plant. So I think I've babbled enough. Um, okay, I started to mention this. Titus brought up washing off vitamin D, and it made me look into it. I struggle with vitamin D, and I'm like, this is kind of silly to me, but of course, like I have an open enough mind, I will entertain almost anything. So From the studies I read, no, that's not true. It takes chemical process, which converts vitamin D, in your skin. It's in the inner layers of your skin, soap does not reach, or at least in healthy skin, soap will not reach. And it sounded kind of funny to me. And just on the topic of it, how does he even absorb any vitamin D when he wears long sleeves, long pants, and has a beard and a hat on often? Like, you need to expose as much of your skin as possible to the sun or doing it to get vitamin D. Like, you need to sunbathe in a bikini. You need to take your son's shirts off when they're playing outside. You need to get as much of that in the wintertime in the northern hemisphere, it doesn't matter. You're not vitamin D. You're just not. And in the summertime, you be out and expose yourself and your skin. And I just don't get how somebody that's trying to dress like an Amish person does that. And it's that he only uses soap once a week when he works outside. I'm sorry, that's just gross. You that can't I mean, he has to use soap more on his hands at least, right? And, like, I was thinking about it, and I'm sorry if this is TMI, but I saw somebody on a video break, like, what if you just use soap where the sun doesn't shine, you know what I mean? Like, arms and, down there is, like, the only place a lot of us probably use soap, like, every single day. Like, when I work really hard, I will scrub my shoulders and, like, I exfoliate, like, once a week, but, like, really I don't know, I just hate to bring all this up, but it's like another example of maybe not even dangerous advice, but misleading advice in medical missionary school. Was that before or after you jumped off the building and broke both of your ankles? If you really think about it, seriously, I've said this before, it could be a movie. I think that people not donate, like eventually they might get like a big chunk of money selling the rights to their lives for a movie. And of course, that would be, the attention that we would get in Kentucky in this day and age, and there's so many people that have been through some to, like, the coal mining getting taken away from here and how we have, like, the poorest people in the country in Appalachia, and just, uh, the way people live, a lot of us are on lower incomes, and I have to say, I think Kentucky is one of the states where it has people on the most welfare, which I'm not saying anything bad about people on welfare. If you can get it, good for you, take it. The lady driving a $60,000 Tahoe, okay, yeah, I think those are like, I don't think that happens a lot because I know when I was furloughed and we literally had no verifiable income, we did anything. You have to be so exceedingly poor, and that it just that doesn't make sense to me that like that is the norm because it's just not. Hi, I don't know how to say your name. If in that medical missionary school, I would be wanting a word with him, LOL. Yeah. He's not a very good representation of any kind of advice, and it's all that people look up to him. And when he was talking about, um, gosh, now I'm losing my train of thought. It had something to do with the medical. It was some kind of poultice. I added a clip in a video I uploaded recently. I know the editing and the stuff kind of like there was more I wanted to do, and it got to the point where I was just like, I'm done. I can't spend any more on this. There's like 2 or 3 hours worth of editing, and I just yeah, I will say if I was monetized, it'd be different. I think most people would feel that way. If I was making money on videos, I would put more effort into them, and then I feel bad because I feel like you as the viewers, like, it should be about you as the viewers. It shouldn't be about whether I make money or not, but it's just the reality, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Like, if I do get monetized one day, my content and, like, I use my phone, and I like the app that I use, but I every time I press stop, it, like, it makes a sound, stuff like that. It's like I really t in order to edit as best as possible, I need to get a computer and start doing it on a computer again. Some of my first videos were on computers. I don't know if you guys are interested in this, but the oldest videos on my channel right now are videos I made about the Chris Watts case because the MLM that Chris Watts' wife, whom he unalived, as well as their unborn baby and two other children, I researched the ingredients to that and found out that the active ingredient that caused the weight loss in this MLM called Thrive, they have these patches you wear, these like dermal things that you lose weight. And the active ingredient works in the brain like MAOI inhibitor. And this guy that unalived his whole family would stick on the strongest ones they had and double up on them. He was like two of the strongest dose. And I'm not trying to make excuses up for him. I think he deserves to rot. but what we put in and around our body, like, really, really matters. And when I started this channel, when I made those videos, like, people thought I was trying to be some kind of Chris. No, I think that, like, it's possible that 3 children and their mother might still be here if it wasn't for just, like, approving any ingredient, and once again, it's like it's called forskolin, and the people that it's it's used for weight loss, but they know that it works in the brain. That's wild to me. If there's anything that has a motive mechanism that's doing something to your brain, then you should be aware of it. It should be disclosed to you in on the package, I think. And so that was done on a computer, those videos, and I think they're pretty well edited. It's like a screen share, and it's old. And I would like to do more things like that, where I'm doing deep dives and researching. And if anybody has any opinions, anything they want me to research, like, just let me know. And I know it's a pretty broad topic, but it does encompass social issues. Your mind really affects you physiologically. So even when I make commentary like that hot holy priest, he took down and somebody did re-upload it or most of it, and I think I downloaded it. I'm not even sure, but these things do affect people's health, and it it is interesting to make videos about. It's just more fun to talk about other people, talk about silly things. And I guess I really don't have anything else to say. I wanted to talk about the vitamin D. There's absolutely no real proof, but that does fly around a lot, that soap will wash off vitamin D. However, most people that are actually doctors or scientists will say it happens in the inner layers, which seems to make more sense to me. And also, a lot of the people that talk about soap, they never answer. And there's always lots of people asking, well, what about just water? Like, can I just rinse my body off? Because most of us, after being at least want to rinse off, right? And nobody ever answers that. And I think it's because they're all just parroting the same thing that they've all heard. Oh, yeah, soap washes it off. Soap washes it off. And there is an issue. There are a lot of people who are chronically low with vitamin A1 that's like chronically low. Some people think like everybody, or like at least 90% of people deficient in vitamin D. So if that's the case, I think a lot of it has to do with none of us are outside enough, but like I said, in the winter months and even like half of the year, months out of the year, if you live in the northern hemisphere, you simply can't get your vitamin D from the sun. You just can't. So it makes you wonder, like, how much has this affected people for the last hundreds or thousands of years in the northern hemisphere? It kind of makes sense. A lot of people that live in the southern hemisphere is just like seem to be healthier and, like, you think, how can they survive these kinds of conditions? Maybe their immune system was less because they actually got the vitamin D they're supposed to. And I know a lot don't get diagnosed with certain things because there's just, like, a lack of medical care, so I'm not saying they literally don't get sick, but, it seems like a lot of us could live the way that they live without absolutely any medical care and thrive at all. There was, that that reminds me. It I had a video that I made that got copyright struck on another channel of mine that was about societies started by women, because obviously I'm very interested in these dynamics taking place between men and women right now. And there are many, or at least a few, big cities in Africa where women left their tribes because they wanted to freedom, specifically away from FGM, mutilation of their private parts. And all villages, it was interesting, had the same common thread to them: be caring towards the other villages around them. And they started schools and helped to educate children from their village and other villages. And like men were allowed, but they just couldn't live there. And it seemed to be some of the happiest people I've ever seen. And it is proof that a lot of people throw that around like, well, women couldn't do what they do. There's a society in Africa where women build all the houses, and the houses are too short for most of the men because the women are the ones that build their huts. Like, women can and do most everything a man does. And start researching smaller communities and societies and see, like, ideally people would live in smaller communities. And that's one thing that we're lacking right now. I think people, once again, if you garden, it will help bring a community. You might meet neighbors you would never meet otherwise because like you're outside all the time, but they actually have a reason to stop and talk to you about something. And there's been several times where I know that that's helped me in conversation. I'm an awkward person, believe it or not. It's not always easy for people. It's easy for me to say, "Hey, I'm going to talk about this," and jump on live, and it's fun for me, but it's not, easy to be put on the spot when you're with somebody. And gardening, going to farmers, flowers especially, they just bring so much joy to everybody. And did you guys know you can grow dahlias from seed? I've grown dahlias that were more, I don't know if these would be considered double petaled, like, frillier. You can grow these from seed. You can save the tubers. You can eat the tubers. I wouldn't probably want to unless it was an emergency situation, but dahlias are a great emergency food to have because I think in our zone, we could in the ground over winter too. But just like cattails, I think it's neat to have things on your property. Hey, I could dig that up and eat it. If stuff went down, the grid went down, and grocery stores were down for months or weeks or whatever, it's good to have things like that just sitting in the ground that you can eat. And, like, Jerusalem oaks are something I've never grown, but they're also known, to be really easy to grow. I mean, dahlias aren't the easiest thing to grow, and they're kind of I don't know why I keep showing you. They're kind of bad for more humid climates like ours here in South Central Kentucky, but they're still, like they're still such a joy. And I've grown a lot of different kinds of dahlias. I've grown dinner plate and pom-pom, and I see you can grow these from seed. They just started doing these from seed the last 2 or 3 years, and that's super exciting for anybody that likes cut flowers. And the bigger dinner plate dahlias, they're a little too big anyways, if you ask me. And they're awkward in bouquets, like unless you have this gigantic arrangement. See, the dahlias you can grow from seeds are much easier to manage. If anybody wants any more recommendations for cut flowers, some people pronounce this zinnia or xenia. I say zinnia. They're super easy to find, come in all sorts of colors and even varieties. They're actually a wildflower that originated in Mexico, drought resistant because of that. And you just, they are prone to powdery mildew, especially if you grow a lot of them together. So I would give them extra space. You might think you're getting away with it for a while, but then you walk out one day and all of them have powdery, and that's unfortunate. But I think this was, I think was enough. Almost an hour. I would like to get to the point where I have, more going on for you guys. It might be a little bit boring, me just like talking at you about seeds. But I really appreciate everybody that did listen. I appreciate the likes, and I hope that once again, if you have recommendations, please leave them in my comments, or you don't want to comment, you can write me at the email that's in my description on my channel. I check that every day. For a while, I was bad about checking it, but I do check it more now. And I really hope that if any of you are out there buying seeds, you consider shopping online because I found that the seeds in stores, it's like none of them have any seeds in the packet. They're all selling at the premium price that they used to have more seeds. And now that people are getting into gardening or just shrinkflation that's taking place all over the place, I would not buy seeds from a big box store like Walmart or, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, Tractor. I would not buy seeds from a place like that. If I were you, if you could help it, I would highly recommend Botanical Interests. And yes, I understand what I just said. Some people might be like, well, they're expensive, but they know what they're doing. They pick varieties that are easy for most of us in this country to grow. I'd say Baker Creek. I was a little turned off by the owner's politics during the panini, if you get what I mean. And I told myself I wasn't going to buy from them anymore. But they do really interesting varieties, and that's one of the things that's so great about gardening. It makes it absolutely priceless. You can grow things you could never buy, grow things that are absolutely unavailable anywhere else. It's really, really special. And I hope that somebody found something useful in this. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Like I told you, there's like two things I did mention I have not grown, but everything else I've grown several times and used a bunch. And I hope that you are looking forward to a great week, or it is the start of the week. I hope you're having a great start of the week, and I really appreciate all of you listening to my content and all the views I do get. You have a pretty small channel, and it's very encouraging. Um, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but right before I got on here, I saw a comment in a recent video where somebody's saying like, Titus is going to take me to court or sue me. And it's like they the way that Titus and his followers act show how not godly they are. And I'm not threatened at all. I know my rights as a YouTuber making commentary. I I really am not, threatened by these people, but I would also really appreciate, like, even if you don't watch it all the way through, I'd appreciate, like, on any of these videos talking about, the perverts that denied being in a relationship for a solid year almost and just turn around and say, "Hey, we're married now." Just like that, like, it's like a game of slapjack or something. It's just like, bam, we're married. And they know it will be okay with some people. Of course, they know it. That's why they do it. That's why they get away with it. But I'd appreciate like any and all support. I guess it's all coming to a head soon. It seems like they have a court date coming up and they're getting married next month. So it's just still going to be something I'm going to keep record of that people know because Peter Santinello has kept his records of Titus up and keeps monetizing him. And because of that, I get comments literally every week, seriously, every week. I just saw Peter Santinello's video. And most of the time, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm glad I found this. Oh, thank you. I really liked him until I saw that." Or, I was fooled by him, basically. And then there's between where people will be like, "I just watched Peter Santinello's video, and how dare you?" It's like, how dare me? Like, it, none of that really gets to me. I know projection when I see it. I'm 37 years old. I'm not going to be scared. I'm not scared by literally reposting things that Titus and Stephanie have posted. Like, I posted what they posted, and that's not slander when I'm commenting on things that they've brought to light. And there's are things I could say that they haven't posted, and it's not my business. And I don't plan to go into it any more than I already have. I don't plan going to the courthouse. I don't plan on, you know, I just hope everybody understands where I'm coming from, that this is about helping to protect possible future victims because with people like that, always a possibility. And I know when I first saw his videos, when I came across all of this, when I saw how he would have that baby of Stephanie's in his lap, like it just didn't sit right with me. Like I know it's possible. I know there's good men out there that just love people's babies, but it's not the norm. And people need to know about his past. And if he really is on a better track now, and him and Stephanie are going to live the rest of us doing what they're doing, they need to understand that's already out there, whether somebody like me says it or not. There's like this famous monk that started this place that Abbey of Gethsemane. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like a few hours away from here. It's this beautiful place I've been to a few times. And he was known for his writing and how he was staying at a hospital in Louisville and fell in love with a nurse and had a child with her, I believe. I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but like his legacy will be that he had an illicit affair with a woman like half his age and had a child out of wedlock as a freaking monk. 100 years from now, when people look up Titus Morris, his legacy will be that he sought fame and fortune, unlike literally anybody else with his belief system, supposedly, or that he's trying to look like. And he ended up, with a married woman telling everybody for a year that they absolutely had no romantic interest, and then just like a light switch turned on all of that. And it turns out that he married as soon as he could. That will be his legacy. It won't be, "Oh, he helped people get off of certain substances," supposedly. I think that's like when I said in my video, he's never really done much with his life. Okay, he has helped some people. But I think those people that they really need to help themselves. If anybody's like truly helped by Titus Morris, this man that has like really little life experience, what he done but that any of us he can use to plow a field like that doesn't give him expertise or wisdom on everyday life that most of us go through. So I think I've rambled enough. I know my grandma saying bye and saying bye like every 5 minutes for the last 20 minutes. So yeah, threaten me and harass me all you want. I comment back to them. I know you're doing something right when you get comments like that on a video that's literally clips from somebody else's YouTube channel. Like, how am I going to get taken to court over this? They put themselves out there because that's how they made their money. And they're bed now, right? And they're going to lie in it together. There's going to be a little type junior, probably in less than a year. I wouldn't doubt it if it was like 7 or 8 months or even 6 months, you know where I'm going with that? And that's one reason they had to get married. Why couldn't you wait until, like, the wedding and the ceremony and do it in front of everybody you love and God? I'm just speculating, and once again, that's none of my business, but I think it's absolutely disgusting, and I feel really bad for those kids. I know what it's like to come a broken home, and when she said her daughters were happy that they were getting separated, I felt that, like, yeah, I've been there, but how unhappy were they because of actions and the home she had made for her family? And most of us in Jeff's situation would feel the same way that Jeff feels. And so, trying to think the best for everybody involved and who's innocent. And I hope that everybody has a good week. And if I do go live again, it's going to be m- a lot more seed and gardening stuff. I'm not going to get on just to rant about stuff with them. Okay. Good night. I hope you have a good week.